Sean's laughter was hollow as he slammed another vodka shot down, the burn of it doing little to erase the sting of betrayal. Ben sat across from him, jaw clenched, eyes dead. The thumping bass of the Moscow club was deafening, drowning out their anger, their shame, their crumbling futures. They had arrived with dreams, with code and vision and a polished pitch, only to have it stolen by their smiling partner, Skylar, a parasite wrapped in designer suits and false promises. Now they were broke in a foreign land, their names meaningless, their startup dissolved before it was born. They hadn't even noticed when the power dipped. Just slightly, a flicker, like a breath held too long. The music cut out next, mid-beat, leaving behind a suffocating silence. Then came the light, an eerie greenish pulse that rolled across the sky like a sheet of dying aurora. It didn't illuminate, it consumed. The club's patrons spilled outside, phones raised, confusion writ across their faces. Sean followed, squinting up at the sky. That's when it began. A high-pitched shriek, like glass grinding against bone, rose from somewhere beyond the rooftops. A man screamed, then another. Then came the hissing, like a static wave crashing over cobblestone. People started to vanish, not fall, not explode, just vanish, vaporized into clouds of drifting ash. Bodies collapsed into nothingness mid-run, mid-scream, eyes wide as they dissolved from the inside out. Sean grabbed Ben's arm, yanking him backward just as a woman nearby turned to dust, her hair lifting off her skull as if caught in wind before her whole form shimmered and snapped out of existence. The air shimmered. There was something in it. They fled back inside the club, but the lights were gone. The emergency generators had failed. The bartender was weeping in a corner, clutching a crucifix he'd hidden beneath his shirt. They found an exit through the back and stumbled into the tight, dark alleyways of Moscow's decaying heart. That's where they saw the first one, a distortion in the air, like heat waves rising from pavement, but moving with intention. It hovered. It studied. Then it darted forward with no sound, no warning. The man in front of them, some kid in a baseball cap, was caught mid-step. He didn't scream. He simply stopped, his outline flaring with orange light from within before crumbling into dust. It left no blood, only silence and a drifting cloud of what used to be. Ben was shaking. "What is that?" he whispered. Sean didn't answer. His brain refused to name what his eyes refused to understand. All they could do was run. But nowhere was safe. The invaders were not creatures, not ships, not anything tangible. They were like rips in the fabric of the world, hungry voids that seemed to hunt heat, movement, electricity, life. The city fell apart in hours. Cars stopped mid-street, their occupants turning to ash before they could even step outside. Planes fell from the sky, plummeting silently like toys dropped from a child's hand. Every screen went dark, every machine useless. They found others, survivors, huddled in subway tunnels and beneath old churches. There were whispers of a weakness. "They see electricity," someone muttered. "Heat, motion." Some covered themselves in mud, and waited out the nights beneath cars. Others tried to run in pitch black, navigating by sound alone. The air was heavy, always watching. The entities floated like silent gods through the city, judging everything they touched. A dog barked once, and half a street was leveled in seconds. Days passed in fractured memory. Hunger gnawed at them. Sleep became impossible. Every breath was too loud. Every heartbeat a risk. Sean and Ben made their way through a ruined apartment block, the walls blackened by soot and fallen bodies. One night, they met a girl named Katya, who hadn't spoken a word since her family was disintegrated beside her. She wrote on walls with charcoal, warnings and maps. She believed there was a signal, a constant pulse being emitted from the Kremlin's old radio tower. "It's not just an invasion," she scrawled. "It's terraforming. They're rewriting the atmosphere." Ben began coughing up blood. Something was happening to him, inside him. He swore he felt things moving beneath his skin, slithering like static through his veins. Sean watched helplessly as his friend unraveled. By the fourth day, Ben couldn't speak. He sat by the fireless pit in an abandoned station, skin pale, veins glowing faintly. That night, something came. Not the shimmerers, but something worse. A hum. Low and deep, like the sound of the earth groaning. The walls shook. The survivors screamed. One man exploded from the inside out, his blood boiling into smoke. Sean pulled Ben down a tunnel, Katya guiding them with a flashlight covered in cloth. Then they saw it, the heart of it, buried deep beneath the city, hidden behind rubble and bone, was a sphere. Floating, humming, surrounded by hundreds of the shimmerers. It pulsed with that same green light, rippling outward, drawing the world inward. Katya dropped her flashlight. The shimmerers noticed. They turned. Sean didn't see what happened to her. She just stopped running. Ben grabbed Sean's shirt, eyes wild, his mouth trying to speak one last word. Then he went rigid, his body convulsing, his chest caving in. From inside him, something stepped out, a shape of shifting air and pulsing light, as if the shimmerers had used him as a shell. Sean screamed. He ran. And now he hides, in sewers, in places too old for electricity. He writes this down, scratching it onto walls and cardboard and scraps of skin, hoping someone reads it. They are not here to kill us. They are here to change us. The world is being rewritten, rewired. The new gods are invisible, but they are everywhere. He hasn't seen the sky in days. He doesn't dare breathe too loudly. But he hears them always, just beyond the veil of air, just behind the thinnest shadow. Watching, waiting, reshaping the world in their own horrific image. The end didn't come with fire or flood. It came with silence, and then the shimmer. The cold of the Moscow underground had become Sean's only companion. The silence down there wasn't peace. It was anticipation. The kind of silence that presses against your eardrums, like the moment before a scream. He didn't know how many days had passed since Ben, since the thing shed him. Time didn't move in the dark. It dripped, like leaking pipes, like blood sliding down concrete. Sean wandered through forgotten tunnels, places that had no names on maps, where even the rats no longer skittered. The air was thick with mold and rot, and something else, something wrong. There were whispers sometimes, not words but textures in the air, like breath on the back of the neck. He thought at first it was madness. Then he saw them. They were not shimmerers. These were new, twisted, malformed silhouettes moving just beyond light, sometimes crawling on walls, sometimes clinging to ceilings like insects. They had once been people, survivors maybe, who'd been touched but not consumed. Their bodies hadn't turned to ash. They had adapted, stretched skin, elongated limbs, heads that twitched and jerked like broken dolls. Their eyes glowed faintly, orange, like dying coals. They were becoming something else, midway between human and shimmer. He found one of them hunched near a collapsed metro platform, rocking back and forth, murmuring a child's lullaby in Russian. Sean didn't breathe. The thing's head snapped toward him, its neck cracking with the motion. It smiled. Then it melted into the wall, just folded into shadow like smoke dispersing in water. They were learning the tunnels. They were learning him. He pressed deeper underground, down to places etched with Soviet-era warnings and rusted hazard signs. Somewhere in his wandering, he came across an old radio room, the equipment mostly shattered or melted, but one red light blinked on a panel, the only light he'd seen in days. When he approached, it flared, briefly, and he heard it. A message, looping. In Russian first, then in broken English. If you hear this, come north. Beyond the river, there is signal, there is shelter, there is resistance. The message repeated every 5 minutes. Static in between, but not normal static. It carried something else, a pattern. Something that tickled his spine like insects crawling beneath skin. Still, it was the only direction he had. He took it. Above ground was a graveyard of glass and ash. Moscow was no longer a city, it was a carcass. The buildings stood like broken teeth, hollow and charred. Roads had become veins of dust. The sky was always green now, a shimmering dome that flickered like a dying bulb. The shimmerers still drifted, silent, watchful. But now they were accompanied by the changed ones, the human remnants, their howls echoing through alleys, drawn by warmth and breath and fear. Sean covered himself in mud and ash, layered his clothes in cold water and rags. He moved only at night, only when the wind howled loud enough to mask his steps. Along the way, he found remnants of others, half-eaten meals, blood-smeared walls, a child's shoe resting beside a mound of ash, messages carved into stone and steel. Don't trust the light. They are inside us now. Listen to the static. Each warning pulled him further into paranoia. But the signal remained, drawing him north, beyond the ruined banks of the Moskva River. There he saw it. A tower, old, rusted, but still standing. Lights blinked atop it in a rhythm that matched the message. Around it, a makeshift fortress had been erected from buses, scaffolding, and barbed wire. Bodies hung from poles outside, some ash, some fresh. Human, shimmerer, hybrid. He was taken inside at gunpoint. The survivors, there were only 14, were lean, scarred, eyes sunken with sleep deprivation and constant fear. Their leader was a woman named Dr. Irina Malenkov, a former physicist from the Russian Space Research Institute. She didn't smile when she saw him. She just nodded, as if she had already seen him arrive in a dream. "They're not just invaders," she told him that night, sitting by a small fire that burned chemical-soaked wood. "They're not from space. They're from somewhere deeper, beneath reality. They bleed through dimensions, not visitors, leaks. The shimmerers are the scouts, the hybrids, the tools, but something worse is coming." She showed him the recordings, grainy, distorted footage captured by modified thermal cameras. In it, the shimmerers were seen feeding on human bioelectricity. But in the last clip, something massive was seen behind them. A silhouette miles tall, barely visible through fog and distortion. A creature with no form, just layers of spiraling light and writhing geometry that hurt Sean's eyes to look at. "They call it the architect," Irina whispered. "It's not a being, it's a mind. It's dreaming this world into something new. It sleeps now. But when it wakes, nothing of Earth will remain. Not cities, not language, not even memory." Sean didn't sleep that night. Outside, something howled like wind but wasn't. Inside, the survivors argued about using the beacon again, a homemade pulse device Irina had built to jam shimmerers temporarily. But each use risked drawing the architect's attention, and last time it had nearly split the sky open. On the 12th night, the hybrids attacked. They came in silence, like wraiths, crawling along walls and through gaps in defenses, their eyes glowing with mockery of human thought. Sean fought with a rusted pipe, crushing skulls that felt too soft, like wet paper. One of them grabbed him, whispering in Ben's voice, "It's not so bad, Sean. You'll see. You'll love the change." He screamed until its face caved in under his blows. Half the survivors died. The rest fled. The beacon was activated. It pulsed once, twice, and the shimmerers fell from the sky like stones. But the green shimmer above the city cracked. It rippled. Something looked down. Now Sean is running again, writing this on scavenged paper, hiding in train cars filled with bones and static-filled radios. He can feel it in his head now, dreams that aren't his, thoughts that echo in alien cadence. The architect is close. It's waking. And when it fully opens its eyes, the world won't burn. It will vanish. Rewritten like bad code. Overwritten by something ancient and patient and perfectly inhuman. He doesn't know how much longer he has before his thoughts are no longer his own. But if you're reading this, there's still a chance. Don't follow the lights. Don't listen to familiar voices. Don't sleep near static. And whatever you do, don't look up.